I'm Bridget O'Malley.
My name is Amanda Degener, and together we're Cave Paper.
We're a production paper mill in downtown Minneapolis, and we've officially been here for 20 years now.
We're in the lower level of the Campbell Logan Bindery building. And there's several book arts businesses here. We've got some letterpress printers, and of course Greg Campbell and Duncan Campbell own the bindery. And it's been a wonderful place to be for the last 20 years.
And we just completed the biggest project we've ever undertaken, which is a 50 by 50 foot sheet of paper. And it really ended up being 6 sheets that were 8.5 feet by 50 feet. But, you know, ultimately it was joined together to make a 50-foot sheet. And the process was very time-consuming, but very interesting.
We were contacted by a Swiss artist, Sipo Mabona, and he is very well known for making origami animals, specifically rhinos and elephants. And he decided he wanted to make a life-size elephant for this museum in Switzerland. And I guess there really aren't that many paper mills in the United States, certainly, but around that could fill a custom order like that. So we decided to take it on.
Right, probably the biggest challenge was just figuring out a way to make and dry that big of a size of paper, because our walls are only 20 feet apart, and so we ended up moving our operation over to the Greenbelt atrium in the keg house to be able to spread out across the floor and make the sheets one at a time and figure it out as a team.
Yeah, we were very fortunate that Art Space was willing to let us work there. We do volunteer every year during Art Whirl. We do set up a free paper making there, so we had sort of built up some goodwill. So they said, sure, come on, you can work on your paper over there. So that what really made it possible for us to spread out and work on multiple strips, as Bridget mentioned. We ended up making these 6 strips. We could work on them at a time. And the artist wanted it to be very, very strong. And what we realized is you get so much of the strengths from paper making, from the pressing of the paper. And of course, who has a press that size? So we realized that what we needed to do is make sheets of paper. Press them in our regular manner and then embed them inside the paper. So it's kind of like a sandwich technique. We poured pulp down onto a very large mosquito netting screen kind of thing, and then we laid pressed but not dry sheets inside of that, and then we laid more pulp on top. So it looked like one single sheet of paper, but really it was over 2,000 sheets of paper that were made in the studio in downtown Minneapolis and then carried over to the Greenbelt where we did the assembly.
And it was probably a team, well, there were probably 10 or 12 people that worked on it in total. We would have a set of people working at the cave making sheets, and at the same time, simultaneously over at the Greenbelt, there was a set of people working on assembling the sheets that had been made the night before and turning them into one big giant sheet, and that went on for probably 2 or 3 weeks to get all of that done. And the pressing was really interesting because we really did have to press it even after we put the layers of pulp on there. So we laid felts down on top of the paper and wooden boards and buckets of water and stood on it and bricks and whatever we could think of to get the water out of the paper. Because really we needed the paper to dry so we could move on to the next sheet. We just had so much to do in a short time. So that was kind of fun too.
The paper was ordered on, I remember it well, December 21st. And luckily I wasn't going anywhere for the holidays. And he wanted it in 3 weeks. And it would have been a really big deal to get it done in that very, very short period of time. And so we said, no, we can't do it in 3 weeks. But, you know, he sort of pushed the deadline a little bit, and he paid extra for shipping, and it ended up working out. But I wanted to go back to something Bridget said about all the helpers, because one of the things that Cave Paper's really involved with is creating a sort of teaching, learning environment. So we have an internship program. Basically, we've had over 80 interns here in the last 20 years. And we don't have any trade secrets. And so when we had this big project, we actually called a whole bunch of past interns in, and we sort of put out the call if anyone wanted to volunteer. And a lot of people, you know, we could not have done this project without all those people helping. And a lot of people were really excited about being part of it. And it did create kind of a mini community within, you know, the project. So.
Sure. Well, it was the coldest few weeks of the year, so it was 23 below zero one day, and people showed up to help us. So that really says it all, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. You know, what else are you gonna do in January on a day like that? So, it was good. And then I think the most exciting moment was when we rolled it into a tube to put it into the shipping container, and like that moment when we like finally heaved it into the box, it was just like this like, oh, wow. Still wasn't out the door yet, but it was a big moment.
Yeah. And we'd love to do more projects like this.